Hello, I'm John Paul and I'm here at Rover Brothers today to fit the rear disc and pads on this Range Rover L322. Rover Brothers have produced this catalogue for the L322. You can order the catalogue by telephone or online, and as you can see inside, it's got all the part numbers for all the parts you're going to need. Before I start on this job, and before we jack it up, I'm just going to go under the bonnet and slacken off the master cylinder at the top of the reservoir. So when you push the pistons back into the caliper, the fluid goes back into the reservoir so it doesn't squirt out all over the place. I'm just going to take the lid off the reservoir now. First job, obviously, is to remove the wheel. The first thing we're going to remove is this spring clip that holds the caliper in the outside. So it's two little lugs fit into those two holes there. So you just have to spring it backwards, then remove the spring clip. Can you see the two little lugs there hook into the back of those holes there? We now need to remove these two little plastic caps from the back of the caliper mounting bolt. So that one's out. Just pop them out. Remove those. And you need a 7mm Allen key into the mount, and then undo both of them sliders, top and bottom. Once they're out, we can then take the caliper off. These are the caliper sliders that hold the caliper on, which we will have to clean up before we refit them. So they're both out. We can then remove the caliper. Pads have come with it. Now it's got the warning wire, the low pad warning wire on this side, so we will show you how to change that shortly, but for now that's the caliper out of the way, and then we're going to take the caliper carrier off and then the disc. So just place the caliper up and out the way, and then we're going to take off the caliper carrier now. Now with a 16mm socket, there's two bolts at the back of the carrier, so let's get your socket on them. Give them a good push. And once they're both removed, the carrier can be taken off. To remove the disc, we first need to do under the retaining bolt with 6mm Allen key. So we just need to get that, spin that all the way out. Now we need to unadjust the handbrake shoes, which are inside the disc. Now there's a little hole there. You might need a little torch. If you look through the hole, turn the disc round until you can see the knurled adjuster inside. We'll show the adjuster properly once the disc's out of the way. I want to adjust the handbrake adjuster so the shoes aren't going to get caught on the rust ring on the inside of the disc. So then we just with a tap to slacken the off, and we'll take the disc off. And you can see inside where the handbrake shoes run how rusty it is. And we'll reposition this shot in a moment so you can see the adjuster underneath. Here you can see the handbrake adjuster with the knurled nut where you would put a screwdriver in it to turn it either way, to slacken it or adjust it up. Now it's just got a screw thread inside there, so as you wind that knurled nut, it just goes out to adjust it in, and obviously in to adjust it off. These are the new parts we're fitting today. Obviously there's your brake pads, new disc retaining bolt, and a set of discs. It's always advisable to just give them a quick clean down with some brake cleaner, both sides and inside where the handbrake shoes fit as well. So we give them all a good clean, then we're ready to fit. If at this stage you are going to change the handbrake shoes, if you refer to the previous video on the Rover Brothers channel, then you'll be able to see exactly how we've done those. I'm now going to fit the new disc, so obviously make sure you get the retaining hole in the right position for the bolt hole. Then put a bit of copper grease on the retaining bolt, pop it back in and tighten it up, and then we're going to readjust those handbrake shoes at this stage. So we're just going to pop a screwdriver in to get the adjuster, wind it up till it goes tight so you can't move the disc, and then unadjust just a couple of little turns. Just get a screwdriver into the wheel nuts, give it a spin, make sure it's not binding, everything feels okay. So that's that job done. So now I'm going to get the caliper carrier, clean it up with a file, and then we're going to refit it. This is where the brake pads sit and slide in the carrier, so we need to make sure that they're clean. So that one's already done. Spin it around the other side, get your file, just clean all the area up where the pads are going to run, and then we can refit it back to the hub. I'm going to refit the carrier now, so I've cleaned up the bolts, put a bit of copper grease on, so we're just going to slide it in there, if you can just see. Put the bolts back in, then get your 16mm socket again, tighten them up. Then we'll move on to the brake pads. Right hand rear inner pad has the sensor for the low pad warning light in the cab fitted, so we need to remove that. We will fit the pads now, and then we're going to move on to changing the new wire sensor. Here's the piston and into the caliper. Now it's got a rubber dust cover around there, so you have to inspect it to make sure that the dust cover is still intact and not damaged, and then we have to push the piston back in. Now I'm just using a pair of grips. Just be careful not to split the boot, and push the piston all the way back till it's like that. Then the inner pad has a spring clip on the back which sits inside the piston, so you just need to pop it in there and just fit the pad in there like that. And now I'm going to get the new warning wire and just pop it in the back of the caliper into that pad. Then we can put the outside pad in and fit the caliper back on. Just use a bit of copper grease on the pads where they slide, so if you fit that pad in there, then you can refit the caliper, and then we can fit the caliper sliders. I mean, there you want to be nice and clean like that, and just smear a bit of copper grease on them, and then pop them in the back. Then use your Allen key to tighten both of those back up. Just be careful when you start them, the threads can be a little bit difficult to get started, so just be a little bit careful when you're starting those threads. And that's it, we'll get the Allen key in, get them started, tighten them up, and then we're going to reroute the warning wire. With the caliper bolted in place, I've replaced both of those plastic clips in the back of the caliper sliders, and I'm just going to replace the spring clip, so just plonk it in back there, and just make sure the two little lugs click in place. That's done. And now I'm going to route the wire for the warning sensor through behind the wing cover, so I'm going to take the wing cover off now. The junction box for the warning wire is behind the wheel arch cover, so you will have to just remove the few little screws, some 10mm ones and some 8mm ones, and a couple of little clips in the corners. Take them out and then just persevere and take out the wheel arch cover. I mean, you can just reach underneath and get it if you want, but for us to show you how to do it properly, we've taken out the cover. It is a bit of a pain, to be honest. And this is the box where the warning wire is, and it's in there now, so we just have to reroute it in exactly the same way as the old one, and then we'll clip it in. So that's a new sensor wire, all rerouted, plugged in. I'm going to replace the wheel arch cover, put the wheel back on, and then we're going to do the other side. The other side is pretty much identical to this, but it doesn't have a warning wire, so it's just same as that, wheel back on, road test.